Welcome back to the 2023 Games of Berkeley New Year's Classic, brought to you by Innova Champion Discs. I'm Gavi Gelbart.
And I am co-commentator Cody Kirkland. Today we are following the MPO lead card on the second round action for the back nine. Hopefully you've checked out the front nine. If not, you're about to get spoiled. So now is the time to divert. I would say based on the time of day, the back nine gets quite a bit windier here. So we'll see how our lead card can attack it.
In case you missed it, we have Jacob Blair, Evan Boucher, Trent Somerville, and Andrew Miranda, the up-and-coming 16-year-old on this lead card.
Here we go to hole 10 on the Hills course. This is 579 feet, par 3, severely downhill with that road playing OB long. This is reachable despite being 579 feet due to the downhill nature, but it's also quite treacherous. It's a very sloped green, and if you want to reach it, you kind of have to get one with a little bit of anhyzer going, which can escape and get down that road. Yeah,
it's kind of a high risk, high reward to put some anhyzer on it to get the distance, but then you risk that path on the right is OB as well as the road left, as it looks like Jacobs flips this up really straight. And as you can hear from his own commentary, he is happy with that.
Probably about 50 feet to the basket. Pretty good shot. Here's Trent going with a high hyzer. This looks like a pretty safe play. I'm guessing he'll be maybe 150, 180 feet out from the basket there.
Oh, it looks like he got pretty far up.
Here's Andrew.
Gets a good move on this.
Yeah, it gets it up to flat, and that's holding flat for long enough. That might just get there. That looks really good.
Wow,
oh, yeah.
Landed pin high, rolls to still in circle one. That is a great shot on this hole.
Yeah, this is a fun hole because all of these guys have enough power to get there. It's just about how much they want to risk it if they're willing to go all out for it.
Yeah, every time I play this hole, it's another opportunity to get that rare birdie.
And by every time, we mean, unfortunately, the 2 times a year we're out here for the tournament, as this is a temporary course. Makes it all the more rewarding.
Great. Well played from Trent. Getting a 3 here, you're not losing any strokes pretty much to anybody.
Yeah, Evan not messing around either. Neither of them want to attack that basket on that steep side slope.
Yeah, you can see how flat they're keeping their up shots just to make sure that it doesn't pick up and roll.
And you can see the trees in the background, wind really picking up here. He has a strong tailwind, which, as you can see, did not let his disc stay up there.
Yeah, just shoved him down.
So here's Andrew into a headwind, probably 28, 30 feet.
Wow, what a putt. He is running that downhill. If that misses air balls, it is going 50, 60 feet maybe, and if it rolls, it could even be worse. But that is an amazing birdie on this hole. One of only 2. Himself and my co-commentator here, Cody Kirkland, were the only 2 birdies on this very difficult par 3.
Yeah, I think he was maybe just inside the circle there, and my birdie was from circle 2 as well. So not a lot of shots giving good looks at birdie here.
And you can see him almost throwing that disc in. That is an amazing catch by the basket and also a great throw. Wow, well done. Moving into hole 11, we have a fairly straightforward par 4. That green is at a good distance for MPO. It can come into play, but you want to throw something kind of to the right or over the green so you have a much easier upshot into this not too tricky green.
The path on the right is out of bounds, as is beyond it, and the fence on the left is as well. So it's definitely a generous fairway, but if you let it get away from you, you can to this one OB.
Andrew rips it, but that tail end is keeping it from going to flipping it all. And those stakes are actually not OB on the left. You might see those stakes. It is the property line that is OB. So even if he did get to those stakes, which I don't think he did, he would be safe.
He'll have a left gap probably 180, 200 feet in from there. Should be doable.
And Jacob clearing the green pretty simply. Most of these guys, on lead card, they're the big throwers, and so they shouldn't have too much trouble clearing the green. But it can come into play on a chip hyzer.
Yeah, you'll notice that both that disc and Andrew's were bouncing up and down with that tail right to left. That's in a pretty good spot. He's only going to be 130, 140 feet from the basket.
That was a great shot. It looked like it was almost all hyzer too.
Yeah, I think he got the wind under it and got a bunch of lift there.
Yeah, big tailwind. That makes sense.
This, along with the next hole, are another couple of par fours that you really want to get if you're playing, if you're contending to win here. Not too challenging in terms of distance, and not too demanding in terms of the line either.
Evan with another amazing shape and gets a little bit of that wind push. We should have 4 relatively simple up and downs here, but that tree can come into play. We'll see what happens with their shots.
And I'm sure they're feeling the wind as well, even if it's a pretty routine shot. At this point, the wind's really picked up, and you can see the trees blowing in the background.
Yeah, if you did watch the front 9, it was a lot cooler on the other side of the course, kind of in the valley, but also the wind is definitely getting stronger. And as we did see some rain at the end of this round.
Great shot by Jacob. I think he parks that. Here's Evan, also going forehand, probably about 20, 22 feet from there. Pretty good. Andrew got quite far with this on the left side.
Yeah, that's a lot of distance.
If he were dead straight, he'd be putting from probably 60, 70 feet from the basket. Good choice to throw the Anheuser forehand there.
Takes the big gap. Great shot from Andrew.
Yeah, I saw him lining up that low hyzer there, and I think that's going to be so much tougher with the wind on top of it.
Trent maybe giving a little bid, but a great shot right at the basket. He should have a simple birdie coming up. Evan high, but catches, and he'll take his birdie and move on to the next one.
It's interesting how the weather can change the mindset on a round like this. You enter it, you're playing the hills course, you expect to get a lot of birdies, and you expect to be very aggressive, and then the wind comes up and it's really strong, and it makes these putts seem scary, it makes the routine upshot seem scary, it just changes the your outlook on the round overall.
Yeah, as you can see, that just got shoved down by the wind. Oh, and it takes a big roll. Wow. Yeah, those 20-footers, those 15-footers even, they go from routine tap-ins to much more stressful. Like you're a little worried about any wind lift or any wind drop that you could get. Sometimes these baskets won't catch because the wind will just push them out. But there's a lot of things that come into your head while you're putting, and when you have those loose thoughts coming around, it can be hard to focus on what you need to do.
Good birdies there by Jacob and by Andrew. Trent will unfortunately be tapping in a bogey.
It's a tough one to take.
At this point, it looks like Andrew's got a couple strokes on the card. He's at 9 under. Next two are at 7. This is hole 12, 240 feet. Very uphill with a Mando left of this initial tree on the right side. Really the preferred shot is a backhand hyzer flip, probably with a fairway driver, maybe a mid-range. The challenge here is getting the height correct as the ceiling is quite low and the hill comes up to meet you.
Yeah, it's tricky to throw uphill, but also have to keep the ceiling low and really match that slope of the hill. But if you do hit this gap, you pretty much get right to the basket. And
oh, yeah.
Andrew gets through a little bit, but as you can see, that wind lift kind of pushed him up into the tree and made it a little sketchy.
He's probably still deep in C2 there as well. Yeah, and there's the other common miss, is to throw a little too low. Gets a good skip up there, probably also deep in C2, maybe 60 feet or so.
Yeah, the low miss is actually what you want here, because if you miss high, you drop and you don't go anywhere, and so then you have an upshot instead of just an easy kind of jump putt or even a short little upshot.
Evan leaks his off to the left there. Trent starts to do the same, but kicks back into the middle. This hole quite tricky for only 240 feet.
Good shot.
Yeah, it's a great upshot from Trent.
We'll see if Andrew wants to be brave and run this with his tail right to left. This is a tricky one for the spin hyzer putt, just because it can lift and get away from you. Or it can drop like that and come up short.
You never know with this wind swirling. Oh, Jacob with a great bid. Hits the center of the chains, but just hyzering out, so it takes that bounce out left.
There's Evan with the closest drive, probably still all of 45, 50 feet. and just straight into that wind. You can see he doesn't give it too much energy, and it still just sails over.
Yeah, that thing took a ride. These guys tap out while Evan walks to get his disc. We'll still see his putt. This hole playing actually the exact same as hole 10, just 0.1 over par. But as you can see, you're not really losing any strokes if you're getting par here.
Yeah, we see Evan miss the comebacker there, and that becomes the danger of this round with this wind. It's less about attacking and getting as many birdies as you can, and more about playing within yourself and not letting anything get away. Evan got a little interested there on that long look into the headwind and is punished for it.
Here's hole 13, another easier par 4 that Cody was talking about. You have a pretty tight gap off the tee. You can go right or straight, and then a second shot up to the green. Very low ceiling, so this first shot can be a little bit sketchy. But where Andrew is in a great spot. On those hills out there, if you're on a slope, it can be a little bit tricky with the footing. But it should be pretty routine if you get out to where Andrew is.
Jacob's taking the center gap, gets it a little too low, but gets very nice ground play. Should be okay there on the left side.
That'll work.
This green this year is much more attackable. The basket's out in the open on a hill, so you can kind of just throw at it with knowing you have that backstop.
Yeah, if anyone has seen coverage or seen the course last year, it was over to the left behind that tree. But they made the choice to move it this year, maybe because of the very slick ground that was coming up with that storm. Yeah. As we mentioned, really appreciate the volunteers coming out through a storm and putting all these baskets up. This tournament would not have happened with all the work of the people that put in tons of time and effort into it. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, very good drives by the whole group here. Here's Jacob, the farthest one out, probably only 240, 250 feet. Sticks it, rolls over, and hits the basket to stop.
Good shot from Jacob.
Yeah, as Gabi mentioned, here's the side hill lie. See what Evan can make of it.
That'll work. There's not really any OB to speak of up there.
Yeah, Andrew in the best spot of the group just because of that flat ground makes that approach pretty routine. Throws up there to maybe 18 feet.
Oh, Trent got so far up the fairway. Wow.
Oh, yeah. Great drive by Trent.
Good shot from him.
What is that you're throwing?
Here's Evan from right about edge of circle. See if he can capitalize here and get something going. Misses just right.
Hole 13 feels like a must-get almost, playing as the second easiest hole on the day at 0.65 under par. So it is, nobody's twoing it, nobody's getting there in two, but in terms of getting that drive out of the gap and then throwing an upshot from there, you should see a lot of birdies on this one. Evan might be a little frustrated with that one.
On my card, Manny Torres hit an immediate tree off the tee and still birdied the hole. Hit the first tree and still birdied it from maybe 450 out. So
that guy rips.
That's definitely one of the reasons it was playing under par.
Yeah.
So 3 birdies there in the par. Coming up to hole 14, 253 feet up the hill, probably plays closer to 300 feet. Not too much danger here. There is the bathroom on the left, which can come in if you're throwing a forehand. I think the forehand is the preferred shot, but you can also throw a very straight backhand line here.
You can see off the tee as Andrew throws, that tree can come into play. It just discourages that wide hyzer and kind of forces you to throw it out wide. Andrew with a nice little tree kiss, some love from it. He should have a putt for the bird. That bathroom also is OB if you do end up inside it. Pretty rare occurrence, but it has happened in the past. So
real
keep
nightmare
an eye
stuff.
Out. Yeah, seriously, can you imagine?
Yeah, as you can see, Jacob throwing a little bit of a flex line here. That's really what it asks for if you're going to throw the backhand, is trying to throw that hyzer, you'll tend to drift off to the left towards the tree, towards that cart path.
And landing in those thorns on the right, he should still have a putt, but the footing might be a little tricky.
Here's Trent throwing it right at it. Skips up there probably 35, 40 feet for birdie.
Yeah, up a little longer putt. 4 backhands on this card as Evan laces that gap. Throws so straight. Great shot from Evan.
It's very tricky to judge. In no wind, I think that hyzer flip backhand is going to be a very common play, but in this wind, it's so much more tricky to judge the angle correctly. Evan gets it just right there. Well done.
Nice bounce back for him. Trying to give it a little soft bid. And here on hole 14, this is the last hole right before we get to the very top of the course. And as you will see, oh, Andrew just left. As you'll see on the next hole, that wind is you're starting to really feel it as you get up here.
Yeah, here's Jacob with the tricky footing, as Gavi mentioned. We'll see if he can find a way. I think he's got one limb right in front of him that he has to find his way around. Well done
from Jacob.
Good touch there.
It's a nice bird to get.
There's Andrew tapping in his par. We still haven't gotten to Evan. Here's Trent tapping in his par as well. And Evan will be last up with his tap in birdie here. Well done. As you can see from the updated scores, Andrew's at 10 under par, a couple strokes clear of the field.
Coming up now to hole 15. It is 414, though it feels like it plays a little further than that. You have to throw something turning over to the right, and the basket is a little bit further to the right, so you can't even see it off the tee. This is a very difficult shot with that whole right side where that stake is OB, just past the path.
Par is a great score here, and they are throwing into a big headwind, so they're trying to judge the stability just right. You'll notice Jacob throws quite a bit of hyzer and gets a nice turn out of that.
That is a great shot. Just putting him out on the fairway, giving him a chance to throw up and down for the par.
Yeah, he's still probably 140 feet from the basket, 150 feet from the basket, but anything in the fairway is a well done throw on this hole right now.
Evan gets that turn, and it looks really good.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if he made it around the corner or not. We'll see where that finishes.
Yeah.
Oh, I really liked Andrew's height there, keeping it nice and low.
Yeah,
and gets really good angle too. That's going to be I mean, if you wanted it, that's a long look at birdie, probably 60, 70 feet, but I have a feeling that'll be a welcome pitch up and tap in.
Yeah, that is pretty much the best place you can put your disc on this hole with this blistering headwind. As you see, Trent just gets it a little turned over, and he spits out.
Rolls back out of the OB.
That is safe. The path is safe. Just to the right of that path is OB. So Trent is now still shooting 2.
The wind can be a little confusing out here, too, just because the hills are... there's a lot of hills and valleys on this course, so oftentimes the prevailing wind direction will change depending on which hill you're on.
Oh my gosh, this wind is getting intense. You can see Jacob not going anywhere after that skip. It does look like Evan stayed in, actually, in a great spot.
Yeah, well thrown there. Nice upshot. You really want to have a tap in on this one. This is one of the most exposed holes on the course.
Yeah, our lead card playing this extremely well so far.
Yeah, hole 15 played as one of the harder holes in the course, 0.81 over par, only toppled by the following hole, hole 16, which played 0.9 over par.
Yeah, 0 birdies on the day as we see our lead card all on par or bogey.
Yeah.
And even those putts seem scary. You know, this is a Mach X, so it's a little bit heftier in terms of the chains, but that also means you have to get it in firm, or that wind might push you out.
Yeah, you can see that flag under the basket just going crazy here. Here's Evan taking his time on what must be a 6-footer.
Oh my gosh, those are even stressful in this wind for sure. A couple of great pars from our lead card. Wow, 2 over on the card, probably the best score on that card on that hole for one card all day.
And we see Andrew's taking a 3-stroke lead over the rest of the card here, creating a little separation with his steady play. Here's hole 16, 360 feet downhill, cart path and beyond on the left plays as OB, and the basket is perched a little precariously on top of a hill. So this is into a big headwind, really low ceiling, and tricky green. So as I mentioned, this one played the hardest on the day, 0.9 over par, and we'll see how our lead card can attack it.
And the basket is actually a little bit pushed further back and left towards that slope. And so you have such a scary putt to run. As you can see, again, we were talking about on hole 12, really having to control that height, make sure you're not too high or too low. And this is similar, except now downhill. And then you have to go back uphill to get to the pin. So it's a very difficult birdie. Oh, and Jacob takes a big kick off to the left.
Might have gone out of bounds. Yeah, Evan and Andrew trying to keep it low, getting lifted and catching the tree. They'll have tricky upshots, as will Trent. All three will be trying to scramble for their par, and we'll see where Jacob ended up here.
Yeah, it looks like he did go OB. That path to the left is OB. Gets through and gets down there. He should have an up and down from there.
He's still probably 100 feet, maybe 90 feet to the basket.
I mean, you can see from here, from where Trent was, it didn't even look like there was anything behind the basket.
Yeah.
That hill gets really steep, and those putts can easily run away.
And the tricky part here is you're throwing into a big headwind, so you want to be aggressive and make sure you get it there. But if you float past the basket, the ground drops away from you, so you can end up 60, 70, 80 long very easily. So they're really trying to judge the speed perfectly here and struggling.
We'll see where Jacob ended up. Looked pretty good, though.
Here's Andrew in the best spot, staying steady again. Looks like he judged that distance really well. Trent trying to give that a soft bid, and the wind picks it up and takes it away from him. He'll have a short putt coming back.
If you get that nose up even a little bit, I mean, you saw Evans just bounce up and hold. That wind is still intense up here. These two holes, definitely the hardest two of the course, as the scores show. Good putt from Trent to just keep minimize the damage. And Jacob as well. That's a great save from where he was.
Yeah, Andrew doing a great job of staying very, very steady here, keeping his shots low, keeping himself in manageable situations with very reasonable upshots. You see 2 bogeys, a double bogey, and a par there. So that whole playing true to form for the lead card.
Yeah. And as we move into hole 17, just quick shout out. 1 birdie on the day on hole 16. Jaden Kesem took down the birdie. Really amazing stuff. Hole 17 is a par 4. Little less than 460 feet. The tee was moved up a little bit closer this year, and the green can be tricky, but it is at a distance that MPO can get there for the eagle look.
Gets good height on that and good turn. I'm not sure it's going to come back out, but it looks like it's pushing down the right side.
It looks like a solid shot. As you can see, that right side is very muddy on the tee, so Andrew, looking a little tentative with his run-up, was still able to get a good shot off. But if you like to do a little bit of an angled run-up for that big Anheuser throw, you kind of can't do that because of that mud. Evan with a great shot, though. That's way up there.
Yeah, probably less than 100 feet to the basket from there. We'll see if he's obstructed or not, but hopefully it will be a routine up and down.
Good shot from Trent. Ideal position.
Yeah, burned it over a little bit, but the hole's short enough that that's not going to be very penalizing.
Oof. And that tree is tough. Although, these trees are really big, and so the wind might be a little bit down where they're playing at this point. A little bit more secluded.
Yeah, you heard Jacob say I might still be able to get a birdie from there. Let's see what he can do with this upshot. Probably has 280 feet to the basket.
Leaves a solid shot.
Leaves it a bit short.
Yeah, but a bit short. Looks like a good shot from Trent. That green slopes away from where he's standing, so it can be a little treacherous, but where Andrew is on the opposite side of that road. He's on the right side, whereas Trent was on the left. And they're going uphill towards the basket.
Yeah, great shot by Evan as well. Should have a couple of easy birdies, and we'll see what Jacob can do from here.
Good bid to try to save the birdie. He'll end up with his par.
I believe hole 17 played as the easiest hole in the day. That was .71 under par. Were there any eagles? There was one eagle by Thomas Tomaselli. Well done by Thomas. It's a good eagle to get. Really plays as a bit of a soft par 4, I would say, at this distance for this level of skill.
As you can see, 3 birdies. Unfortunately, if you are taking a 4, if you are taking par on that hole, you are losing strokes to the field. It can be a little tricky.
Coming down to hole 18 here
Final
is
hole of the day.
435 feet. Very downhill. You can throw any disc in your bag and reach this basket, but this is a large island. So left side is OB, right and short is OB, but pretty generous island. So it's just about judging the stability and the height correctly here.
You might be able to tell from this shot, but unless you play the hole, you really can't put into perspective how downhill it is. It is so steep. You're throwing a mid-range or putter. Some people might go up to a Firebird or something stable, but it is a very, very tricky shot, and you have to play it a few times to really know. As Evan drills it, very good shot. I think this is a CTP hole, so Evan might be sitting pretty with that one.
Hard to beat that one. I mean, almost caught the basket. Yeah, the biggest challenge is judging the stability and the height here. As you can see, Trent probably thought he was going to get a little more flip up, but keeps it low enough so it doesn't drift too far from the basket.
Yeah, out of his hand with that hyzer, it looked like it was going to get all the way left, but that wind is just keeping it from going anywhere. So similar for Jacob. This looks pretty good, but it just doesn't want to fight.
Yeah, probably playing as a headwind for them. It's a tricky one because there's actually much more wind on the tee than there is by the basket, just due to the fact that we're up on top of the hill here. So as soon as you throw it down, the wind kind of stops affecting it about halfway through the flight, which I think was quite deceptive for my card and maybe for some of these guys as well.
You might have noticed some other discs more than just our lead cards discs on the fairway as they threw. Jacob with a great bid, just barely missing. He's been all over the basket today. Players started playing this hole as people were walking down because it was so swampy and that walk is really long. So just to make things move a little more smoothly.
Here's Trent for the birdie. Good putt.
Great putt from Trent. Dead center.
And you may know, yeah, it's not as windy down here. It's honestly pretty calm by the basket. Makes putting a little easier.
Evan tapping out his amazing birdie. Looks like he's got that flag over by his disc for the CTP.
And this is the last card coming through, so I imagine he won that CTP.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us for that back nine for round 2. It's been a pleasure to commentate with Cody. Again, thank you to Scott and Jeff for putting on this amazing tournament, all the volunteers, Games at Berkeley for sponsoring, and yeah.
See you on the final round.